First, I want to say welcome. I want to share some information with you today about what I found after 40 years in this health care system that is really the oldest system, and where we at Hippocrates Health Institute bring everything that we can that can help us and help ourselves, of course. You know, what I find is we have 4 children. We have now the 7th coming in very soon of grandchildren. And, you know, so many women come and so many couples come to us who has not been able to get pregnant. And it is an enormous stress when you go through that. And so the first thing we need to do is to relax about it and, you know, and not feel like I'm a failure if I don't conceive this month, and you know, it happens when it's supposed to be happening. So just live your life and have fun. You know, it's more that. Now, so how can I help my body, and how can my husband help their body? That's the big deal, because what we find, of course, is a lot of women get pregnant after the cleansing and after rejuvenating their body. So I just talked to one woman. She has twins now. She got pregnant after cleansing, and she had tried for many, many years, and she is now in her 40s. So, you know, you never take no for an answer. When it comes to hormones, of course, it has to do with our balance. If we are imbalanced, if I don't sleep enough, I'm not going to make good hormones. If I am stressed, if my adrenals are stressed, if every day is like fight or flight response, and I have a hard time to cope with it, and I don't eat well, that's not the time that I'm going to get pregnant. So I need to relax. I need to start eating foods that are nourishing. And, you know, through our experience, our institute is 60 years now, and we've served our guests foods that are live, that are actually sprouted and gives you phytonutrients and vitamins and enzymes and oxygen, and all of this now starts to rebuilding your chemistry and your hormones. That's when you will see results, and so many women have. So, you know, don't ever take no for an answer. And I think it's you know, it's the stress that many women put on themselves, and maybe families put on them too, that there's a certain time you have to get pregnant. If you stay healthy, you have many years to get pregnant. But, you know, it definitely has to do, the medications I take could block, the stress I have could block, and the stress that I put on myself, that I have to get pregnant. So a long time ago, I had miscarriage, and then I had my son 2 years after that, our last child, who just went to college, by the way. But, you know, the stress you put on yourself then to want to get pregnant is just not working. So when I let go, that's when it happened. You know, and it is about lifestyle. It comes down to that. Sometimes bioidentical hormones could be a help. If my estrogen, progesterone are out of balance, a good bioidentical hormone specialist could help you and fix that for you. But it comes down to lifestyle. So you might have to step back and say, okay, what is more important? Should I work 14 hours a day, or should I, you know, de-stress and work on myself and start making green juices that nourishes your body, and stay out of sugar, because sugar messes up on your hormones. A lot of young women, and many through their life, suffer PMS. And, you know, I emphasize with that because I had that through my young childhood until I really got on raw food. And I became vegan at 15 years old, but that was mainly cooked, and cooked did not change anything. And you know that the uterus wall gets really thick from all the junk food we ate, for all the cooked food, the processed food we ate, pizzas and bread and pasta, you name it. And of course the meats. So, you know, even becoming a vegan with cooked food, it didn't change it. But then when I got on raw food and started to eat sprouts, that was the end of it. And I feel like such a waste of my life that I suffered every month for really, really terrible. And, you know, it has to do with how you also see life, the stress that you put on yourself. And, you know, and sometimes it's just, sometimes life is just too much. And it happens. So the traumas we have in our life kind of once a month when we are supposed to cleanse and get really healthy. It's for a woman, it's an amazing time for us to rejuvenate, clean, rejuvenate, and you kind of start over. But instead it became this trauma, which traumas brought in more trauma and enormous pain. And, you know, so that beautiful time of the month that should be our cleansing became this horror show. And just getting out of that was like, whoa, okay, so we were not supposed to suffer. We were not supposed to have suffering. And, you know, being 12 years down of menopause, menopause was supposed to be this big suffering too. And I realized, no, this is another beautiful time in our life. And, you know, so we kind of been taught that it's okay to suffer, you know, that's, it's a part of life. Yeah, traumas happen, accidents happen, but what I can do for myself and at least be in balance and harmony with my body and mind, that's what I can do. So to see it with myself, it was amazing. And, you know, a lot of women have low sex drive. And I would bring in traumas into that too. I would bring lifestyle into that. And somebody once said, you know, there's nothing sexier than a vegan vegetarian. So it does something, it does something. And, you know, it has to do about circulation, especially for a man. And a lot of men come who has a problem with erection, and it gets better. You get on raw food, you start exercising, because you can. When you get on raw food, your joints, you're building your muscles and bones better. So, you know, you have better circulation. It's a big part. Of course, there are supplementation that will help us too. And, you know, we have herbs that we can use to create more passion, but it's really just working on your balance. So foods come down to, can I get chemicals? Can I get enough oxygens, enzymes, and nourishment? If I eat cooked food, I don't. I will not get that. So, you know, we're here, and we're here for this time, especially because we've been doing this so long, to share with you and to try to inspire you. When you go shopping next time, you go to the fresh part of the store. You know, the cans, the frozen, and the paper stuff. I mean, you know that that is processed. That is really not gonna give you what you need. We're the only species in the world who eats cooked food. You know that. We're the only species, and except our pets, you know, and we've always had dogs, and, you know, our dogs eat what we do, but they're also carnivores, so they get some raw meat. That's a natural thing for them to have. But I tell you, naturally in nature, animals will eat, even carnivores will eat as much as they can of grasses and plants. It's a natural thing for them to help them detoxify and rejuvenate too. So human beings, we are not supposed to be carnivore. We don't have a dental structure. We don't have an intestinal tract like in a carnivore. A carnivore only has an intestinal tract double its size. We have like 6, 7 times our size. And they have the dental structure totally different, you know. So we're paying a big price for this. And so if you want to build up sex drive, sometimes it's because I have sickness. If I'm dealing with cancer, I hear it all the time. If I have severe, let's say, lupus or Lyme, I have arthritis, I have cancer, I might not have a sex drive. And you know, it happens for a reason too, because it really, this is energy, and you know, our body's frequency. And actually, you know, we do research in our own way. So we use biofeedback to see the frequency, and it can actually pick up so much of your body's frequency, and just to see where the energy is in your body. And you know, our body works ultimately on 75 hertz. And I just saw a woman that came in, and she was, you know, ridden with cancer, stage 4, and her hertz was 36. And after 2 weeks on our program, it was 66. It blew my mind, because just to see how fast she could get her energy, and she feels it. She will tell you, I feel it. So it's about bringing energy into your body, and you know, cooked food will not do that. Yes, cooked food is giving you that. Really suppressing our stress, and it's comfort foods. But if I can choose between a food that's going to rejuvenate me, make me happy, or just suppress my stress, you know, you have a great choice there. But most of us were not brought up with that, so we don't even know that there is an alternative. You know, we know how to suppress. We eat sugar. Every person I talk to, they will tell you and tell me that, you know, how I suppress my stress is by eating sugar. Sugar comes in many forms. Dextrose, glucose, sucrose, you name it. You know, it has many names. And you know, we kind of got fooled into that this is okay. So I can eat that whole ice cream jar, you know, I can eat that, or I can eat the whole pizza, because you know, that's my reward for doing whatever I did. And you know, really, you only have one body. And you know, if you think of this, let's say you got one car. When you were newborn, you got one car. And that car is going to last you for 90, 100 years. And you would take care of that one so well, because we all do. And this is it. This is your vehicle. This is your temple, too. And, you know, but if we weren't taught, we need to be educated. And that's the main reason that people come to Hippocrates, too. To be educated, but to also live it while they're there, to actually have the choices of an amazing spread of foods that are rejuvenating. So we see the difference, and they see the difference. And you know, so scientifically, for example, if you do blood test, you do blood test the first week, and do blood test, like our program is 21 days, because it takes 21 days to change a habit. And that's just the start, that we actually now realize, I can allow myself this, because how much do I love myself that I can allow myself to eat this instead of that, and to prepare this instead of that. It's an amazing feeling of power for ourselves. So we are empowering you to find that truth, you know, and that's what we are about. That's what our mission and passion is about. Many men and women suffer migraine. Oh boy, and I suffered migraine. I had migraine as a child, and they were severe. They were so severe, and a lot of you probably can identify with that. I hugged the toilet, and it was the only relief that I could find. And pain medication, will escalate your pain eventually. So I took pain medication for 1 year and realized that my migraines just took off and was unbearable. So I stopped. And I suffered that every day for 3 years. So I definitely know what you're suffering if you have migraine. And it is a total body pain. It is, of course, a gastrointestinal problem. It could be allergies. It's a mix of stress. It's a mix of hormones. You know, it's a total body problem. So how do we deal with that? Well, for me, for example, when I dealt with my PMS, I dealt with my migraines. They both walked out the door at the same time. And so hormones was a big deal. And sometimes you do need some bioidentical specialists to help you through that. And sugar is huge. Sugar really set it off for me. And allergies like gluten, dairy set it off. And it took a long time for me to see what did it. Because I would eat it, get a migraine, but then I didn't know because I had everything. If I had everything in that meal, I wouldn't know what it was. And finally, I took sugar out, and I took dairy out, and I took gluten out. And then I got on the raw food program. That really did it, because in the raw vegan program, I don't have it. A lot of you might still have gluten, and that's gotta go. So, because gluten is so destructive for your gastrointestinal tract, it just rips your small intestine up. So it creates a lot of problems for you. And I tell you, it's pain medication. There are natural pain medication like white willow. And so you could go and get white willow and use that as your new pain medication, because you're just going to need stronger and stronger medication. It is, it's not healing you, it's just suppressing, you know, the pain. But where did that pain come? It's your body screaming to you, saying, you better change. I am in unbalance. There is a terrible unbalance in your body when you get even a headache, but migraines, of course, is so much more traumatic. And, you know, so many people have got out of that stress and pain through the Life Food program. But, you know, we work also psychologically. Every guest that comes to our place works with a psychologist that is trained. Every guest that comes through our program have consultation with our psychologist. And you know, it's just amazing what happens when we have that chance to really share with somebody that is trained to help us and to guide us. And so that is definitely an advice too, because anybody with migraines knows that if I did feel good, but if I went into a very stressful situation, I would get a migraine because my body was just not strong enough. It wasn't healed, and that's when I would set it off. So we can talk about sugar all day long because we all are sugar addicts. And you know, and it takes a long time to really get rid of all the sugars in your life. You know, I'm really passionate about weight loss and teaching people about weight loss, because so many people go to pseudo weight loss programs that are really pathetic in a way, because it doesn't take you out of a lifestyle that got you there. It kind of just, you know, moves you a little bit, so you lose some and then you gain double. It's a problem because I need to change, especially the sugars and the fats that I get in my diet. You know, there's a lot of fats. In the early 1900s, we changed a lot about the fats. We started to make hydrogenated oils, and they could stay on the shelf forever and ever. So we were taught that these are good. We were taught that margarine is better than butter, you know, and it just went on and on and on. So all of us went on that, and And that kind of fat is very, very hard for us to digest. It's different size molecules even. So our body's like, who are you, you know? And it's a problem because we got into that, and in 1970s, we took the fat and the fiber out of food so we could also have them on the shelves. And we added sugar. So we've got sugar in so many ways, and we got bad fats, and you know, and the low-fat milk came, and low-fat did, and this and that, and yogurt, and you know, when you take the process to take fats out and accumulate a different chemistry, you're going to pay for that. You know, it's really been horrendous. I'm not proposing to drink whole milk, but I think milk is for a calf. I think mother's milk is for my babies, like I have nursed. So I'm not proposing that, but we all went on that. And you know, I remember that came in my time when I still drank milk and butter, and it was like, whoa, let's go on this. And it was an industry, it was corporations that just got us to eat different. And it was a global experiment that went bad, and we're still in it. And so we need to step out of that and say, you know, how do I get rid of sugar? Because it's in so many foods that I eat. Well, I can start by getting my beans dry, for example. So now I soak my beans, and I can sprout them. If I soak them in a little bowl or fill it with water, let it sit overnight, and then I can strain it in like a spaghetti strainer, and I can rinse it twice a day, and I actually can sprout. When you germinate, you bring actually protein down to amino acid, fat to fatty acid, carbs to simple sugars. Now, these are not sugars that was the white sugar. And this is like baby food. I say anybody who has gastrointestinal problem, these are the foods you can eat. And, you know, because a lot of people with gastrointestinal problem are told you can't eat raw food. Sprouted foods is like baby food for you. So you can do that. And even if I cook those beans, then they are mine. And I know what I put in it. And I'm not going to put sugar in there. Maybe I put some Mexican spices, Indian spices, you know. And we stay out of salt. You know, salt is another problem that we use far, far too much. And, you know, if I have imbalance of salt and sugar, for example, every cell in your body has a motor, and that is potassium and sodium. And you can start seeing then that you actually are leaking out potassium from your system. And now you could get urinary tract problems. Like a lot of women have problems with UTIs, and you know, and sometimes they come and go all the time. When I have stress or I have sex, or I'm very acidic. If everything I ate, let's say I drank a lot of coffee and wine, and I'm going to be very, very acidic, that's when bacteria appears again. Because even though I did a treatment with antibiotic, bacteria has been so smart now, it actually burrows itself into tissue and survives. And then whenever there is a time to come back, here we are. So how do I deal with that, for example? And that's not just the sodium-potassium imbalance, that is the acidity in my body and my stress. But how do I get rid of that bacteria? Because why would it survive an antibiotic? Well, because I didn't change lifestyle. I didn't change anything at the same time. I probably just went back to all the stress that I had immediately. And so I get you on for example, juicing. So now we make juices, and our juice doesn't have any sugar. It doesn't have the carrots, it doesn't have the apples, and you know, and it's not the smoothies where I put vegetables and fruits together that taste so wonderful. No, I make it green. It's very green, and it's like our juice. If you've seen sunflower, you know, the sunflower grows, of course, have thousands of seeds on it. And if I take it very young, when it's 7 days grown, then it's an amazing food, complete amino acid, loaded with vitamin C, vitamin E, and you name it. And I put like 40% of my juice will be a big bunch then of sunflower sprouts. And here we use pea sprouts, and you can use other sprouts too. And then we have some celery and cucumber, great diuretic, great nourishment. And so I make it very green. I could put dandelions in there, parsley. I can put any leafy greens. I sometimes, if I'm in Europe, I put nettles. I put the little green shoots from the pine trees. I take maybe leaves from birch trees, and you know, whatever I can find. So there are a lot of edible things that I can put in a juice if I don't have everything available. And in every country, you have different things that works. So, you know, make it green and nourish your body, because that's like a blood transfusion. You know, there's only one molecular difference from your chlorophyll, or your hemoglobin and chlorophyll. Your hemoglobin is carried by iron, and chlorophyll is carried by manganese. It's the only difference. So you're drinking that. I mean, I can see if you come, for example, with, let's say, cancer or breast cancer or colon cancer, liver cancer, you name it, and you want to rejuvenate, then you start drinking these juices. And because a lot of times you've had a lot of medical treatments, and you know, your blood count is low, your white and red blood cells are just working their tail off to come back, and you know, this is going to help it big time. And you know, we stay as much raw as you can, and you choose foods that are organic. You know, now we have also radiated food. A lot of foods are being radiated because it kills E. coli and salmonella, and but it also kills the food. You know, everything in life has to divide. There's cell division all the time, and we do every cell, and radiation stops cell division. So think about that when you buy organic. You know, you do yourself such a good favor, and you stay out of pesticides, fertilizers. All these things change your DNA, and DNA is very, very easy to change. So you want to keep healthy. And so what if I have fibromyalgia? So my body's aching from top to toe, and I want to see what can be done, because usually I'm on heavy medication for my pain, anti-inflammatory, you name it, and it's escalating. And well, just like arthritis, what do I want to do? How can I really work with this tendon, this tissue, this joint problem? I want to be on a very alkaline diet. I want to neutralize the acidity that was a big part of my inflammation. I want to work emotionally, because there's always that stress that is a huge part of why things happen in my body. And I want to exercise whatever I can. If there's a pool, now unfortunately most pools have chlorine, which is horrendous because it's not needed. We could use ozone, we could use minerals that actually becomes chlorine, and but it's not synthetic chlorine, and anybody could have this. A great story, one of our guests here in Florida, she said it took 5 years because she lives in a big community, but after 5 years the community agreed to do what we're doing at our institute, just ozone that kills any virus, bacteria, because it's oxygen really, and just use minerals. And so hopefully we can have that everywhere too. But if you don't have that, at least twice a week, you go in the pool and you exercise. And you have a sauna after that, because I want to sweat out as much of that chlorine that I absorbed before. And you always take a shower before you go in to the chlorine pool too, so that you will absorb a little bit less. But then you shower and you take a good sauna and you sit and sweat it out. So, you know, there are things we can do. And then of course walking. You know, we are on two legs. We are long limbs. We have this big head, you know, and we're supposed to walk. We were really created to walk miles and miles every day. That's how we were created. So most of us sit on our butt all day. It's a big problem. And we create diseases just from that. So start walking morning and evening. You know, get it into your schedule. If you can go to the gym or if you can get weights at home, you realize that when I put weight on my muscles and bones, they start growing. So the more weight I put on, I start low, but then after a while my body gets bored with it, and then it wants more and more. And I make my bones stronger. So a lot of, especially women, because we have less bone mass than men, we get osteoporosis. And I meet women that have been told they have osteoporosis at 30. This is just crazy now. Normally in the old days, maybe it was at 70 or 80 that it started to show up. It is showing up much, much earlier now. Like most problems, like actually most diseases are starting much, much earlier now with the younger generation. And things that we would see normally at 70, 80, like diabetes, like arthritis, like cancer, you name it, it's starting now at very, very early age. And that is one of the biggest heartbreaks that we have at the Institute. We see 3-year-old, 7-year-old, 11-year-old with cancer that are fighting for their life. And, you know, this was unheard of. And it is lifestyle. It is what we've done to the environment, but it is also what we bought into from corporations. So even young girls now start their menstruation at 7 or 8. I mean, it's unheard of. And you know that's growth hormones. The meat we've been eating, the dairy we've been drinking, full of these growth hormones. Antibiotics. Antibiotics in those amounts that animals have been given is another carcinogen. So, you know, it's a big part of why we also get sick very, very young. We've been fed the wrong things. The thing is, I also meet people that have been trying to live a very, very healthy lifestyle. Now we have fracking. Fracking goes into our groundwater. Our water, the only pure water that I give my kids was and is distilled water. It's really the only pure water, because now with all pesticides and fertilizers and anything that's coming down, you know, our rainwater was supposed to be the purest. We're supposed to be able to drink that water, and because nature distilled it. But it's coming down with so much salt and chemicals and metals that it's coming into our system when we're drinking our, let's say, our well water that we always trusted our well water was going to be good. No, now we're in the time where we need to purify that water before we drink it. And a lot of people are hesitant about that because, you know, our own water should be good. And obviously, the minerals that are in water are inorganic. It takes a plant to take that to give to you. So you don't lose anything by doing distilled water. But the deal is that I mean, to buy water on bottles in the long run, you know, you're going to bring them home in plastic, and that is another estrogen source. So we've been bombarded with estrogen through the meats, fish, dairy, chicken, you know. We've been bombarded with it, and if I buy water in a bottle too, a plastic bottle, I'm going to have even more. So that is another carcinogen that I'm building up. So a good thing would be to get your own machine, whatever purifier you prefer, but really study it and get something that will be with you for years to come, you know. So we chose distilling, and that's what we've done. for for the last like 40 years. And it's just been a great source. We get minerals from plants. That's where we're gonna get them from. So we're juicing, we're eating raw, we're getting our minerals. But the minerals in water are inorganic. You cannot digest them, and they're for a plant to give to you. That's how it really works. So watch, now there's organic meat. So a lot of you might say, well, okay, I can get organic meat. That is really not the way to go, because there's still estrogen, there's still hormones and chemicals that you are going to ingest. Let's say they didn't get growth hormones, but let's say they didn't get antibiotic. It is still harmful, really. It's really harmful. And what I see is that we have degenerated our systems through the generations. And it takes 3 generations to really mess up. And it's going to take at least 3 generations to get our children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren, to be really strong and healthy. And it's a work that we need to do. And now studies are coming up about what the world would look like if we all became vegan, and the money we would save, the healthcare we would save, I mean, it's like unbelievable. And as long as I'm eating meat, I am a huge part of the environmental disaster that we have. That is the biggest part of an environmental, the greenhouse effect, you name it. The animal consumption is the biggest part, bigger than all the cars and planes and trucks and all. Bigger than that is me eating meat. Can you imagine? So if I want to be a part of the environment healing, then I become a vegan, vegetarian. So there's a lot of great studies, a lot of things coming up. And World Health Organization now came out and said, meat consumption is not sustainable. We're not going to be able to do it. And so things are changing. So what if you have, let's say, BRCA gene for breast cancer, and it's in your family, and maybe grandma has it, and your mother had it, and you're now diagnosed with the BRCA gene. What can you do to change your future here? And I know it's starting to change, but for a while women took, for example, both the breast off, and then ended up in a vicious circle with infections and big traumas. That happens when you take a part of your body. It has to heal, and it takes a lot of supplementation and nourishment to help that process. So, and bacteria and virus will take a chance. You have an open wound, you have an open wound. You got to keep it covered. You got to keep it healing. Like I would spray silver on it right away. And I like garlic. I make a concoction of where I press garlic and I mix it with olive oil. And I take 1/3 of garlic, 2/3 of olive oil, and I put that on my open wound. So I keep it covered, because bacteria and virus are very, successful in getting into an open wound. So it takes a lot to heal. And so if I were supposed to do that, or I made that commitment to take organs out, maybe a hysterectomy, because often goes hand in hand, because you're thinking, okay, it has to do with my hormones. Why don't I try a lifestyle? Why don't I try that first? I go 100% raw. I stay out of the fruits, which is sugar. Fructose is sugar. And actually, fructose is a sugar that cancer would love more than any other sugar. So high fructose corn syrup, which is huge in so many problems. Autism is a huge part of that, high fructose corn syrup. And, the deal is that I can make a choice. I can make a choice just because I have genes that is in my family. Yes, if I eat and drink and do and behave in the same way as my mother who had cancer, I probably will get it, right? So what if I change my behavior? What if I get out of the sadness that I have or the anger that I have? What if I work with these emotions? What if I go and start going to the gym and I work out and I feel better and I get a better appetite for food? I want to, if I work out, I want to eat well, you know. I want to have foods that's going to make me stronger. And I don't want to trash myself after working out for an hour, and some of you might do, but please change that and get into better habits and choose foods or make a protein shake, and for sure not out of whey. No way, no way. Whey is a waste product out of dairy products that's so toxic that you sure don't want that in your body. So you choose good, like rice proteins and kamut proteins and hemp proteins and you name it, chia proteins. Just choose something good and you make a shake out of that, and nourish yourself after that workout, and hopefully you don't then go and have a coffee and a donut. So get out of that, trashing things that we all thought was okay to reward ourselves, because we have this thing. I can reward myself. Well, so the reward should be something much better. And it becomes a habit, it becomes a good habit, because we're all experts at bad habits. So, sneak in a good habit here and there, and slowly but surely you might have only good habits, and it's amazing. So when it comes to psoriasis, a lot of our guests comes with rashes, and anti-inflammatory, painkillers, steroids. I mean, you have a bag full of medications and the creams you put on, and just to get out, that is like being in a jail. Well, I think anything. For me, when I have migraines, when I had PMS, I felt that was a jail for me. So whenever we're in that situation, how can we get a key to open that door and get out once and for all? And some of us are good at getting back in there to lose the key and get back in. But, we do get chances. We do get many chances. But after a while, I think we get the hint. I don't want to get back in there again. I'm done with that. And that's such a freedom once we do. And anybody who has who stopped alcoholism, stopped smoking, you all know the freedom that you received because you were in a jail, you were stuck. So, it takes emotional work, it takes exercise, but it takes very much that diet that will support me in my endeavor. It's my foundation. I don't want to build a house on the foundation that's going to crumble, and then I have this beautiful house and the foundation is gone. No, I want to have a good foundation, and whatever I do with it, I can be an astronaut, I can be a nurse, I can be a carpenter, I can be a teacher, whatever I want to do, But I need that foundation in anything that I want to do in life. And I want to raise my children to be able to have that freedom, to give them that gift. And it is a gift. I feel it is a gift, and every day in our work, we feel that, and we hear from our students that, I'm so grateful for this gift, that I got a chance to see how my rash, so let's say I have that rash. And so why do I have that rash? Is it allergies? Is it my body being acidic? Am I toxic? Are my hormones off? And so whatever it is, there is a lot of work that needs to be done. And, that's why we have to be open for many methods. Like we do also electromagnetic therapies. And that is to help our frequency. So imagine, so the ultimate is 75 hertz. So let's say I came in now, like this student I just talked about before who had 36. You're not feeling good. You're not sleeping well, you're not eating well, you're just too overcome with life. And take a break and get the therapies, get the massages, get the lymph drainage, get the neuromuscular massage. Find people who does this. Find acupuncture. It's like heaven. I am a sucker for being a pincushion. I just love this stuff. But, you know, and it's not painful. Go to this therapist that you choose in your town and find more, find out about people. Maybe ask at your local health store or ask the massage therapist who else you can. Find a chiropractor that can work on your atlas so you're structurally aligned. Oh my God, it's just heaven. And because structurally we have to be aligned, and most of us are totally off, and then everything is off. I'm off if I'm structurally not aligned. And you know, there's a lot of therapists out there that can help you. That is our support system. That's what I go to when I need to feel like I need to be in better balance. That's what I choose. And you know, at the Institute we have it available. And we've, you know, built it up through so many years. Let's say 60 years ago, a lot of these people probably was available, but not in the amount that they are now. So it's an industry now. I mean, it's really amazingly popular and available. So take a step into that world and work with them who work with natural methods, natural supplementation. And, you know, there is one supplement that we all need, and that is B12. Because when we lack B12, our whole neurological system is in trouble. And I saw it with myself because through my young years, I also had seizures. It was B12 deficiency, and all the meat and the dairy I drank and eat did not give me that. I started to take B12. That was the end of that. So, you know, imagine the stress we put on our body when we didn't get, and B12 is a bacteria you find in soil. And, you know, we just didn't get it. We didn't get it. And so vegetables and sprouts, of course, give you a lot, but still, we suggest you take that supplement every day. And there's, of course, blue-green algae, and there's enzymes, and there's green algae, chlorella. There's so many wonderful things that you can pick up, but you gotta make sure that they come from plant source. Because a lot, probably 90% or more of them are from chemical sources. They just made in a laboratory, and they're heated to very, very high heat, and that's when you kill things, you know? So, you know, if you realize, like, if you study enzyme nutrition, like enzymes live until 115 Fahrenheit, or like 42 Celsius, and they're gone. And you know, boiling point is like 212. That's the end of the story. So that's why we propose to eat foods like they are. Just grow them, wash them, and buy organic, and you know, enjoy that lifestyle. For my heart, oh boy, there's nothing better. I would think any cardiologist would come this way, because you see the gunk that you take out of arteries, and the stents you put in, and the, you know, balloons you have to put in. And if you realize that a diet like Dr. Esselstyn, who himself had heart problem and himself got totally vegan and oil-free and healed himself and helped so many people, well, and he made our President Clinton vegan after 2 heart attacks. He didn't want a 3rd one, and he became vegan. So, you know, but raw food is the next step, because normally vegan is very much cooked. You know, we eat our beans and our grains and steamed vegetables. It's not enough. It's not enough. So here comes at least the 80% of my raw juicing and my big salads with loads of sprouts and You know, it's a different life, and it takes a little bit to get used to these food, because you have taste buds, and they're like, hey, I like sugar, I like salt, I like fat, you know, I like greasy things. So it's like, this is none of that. But so what we see after 3 weeks, people actually enjoy the food. And I always joke about that, because the food that they got the first week and the second and the third is really similar. You know, we have amazing gourmet chefs, and they make amazing things. So they make it the first week the same as they do the third week. But the third week, the people in the third week will say, how come they didn't make these salads the first week? Because I would have not minded it then, but it was them. And another thing is that we have taste receptors all throughout our body. And this is the first immune system that we have, faster actually than anything else we have. You have taste receptors in your heart, in your lungs, in your intestines. So you not only have taste buds in your mouth, but you have taste receptors all throughout your body. And they would say, don't swallow or swallow, go ahead. But we numb them, we numb them. Gastrointestinal problems is huge. And so many young kids now are suffering Crohn's colitis, diverticulosis, colitis, you know, or just IBS, or just being bloated. As soon as I'm eating, I get bloated. I hear it all the time. Well, raw food can be tough. Sprouts is the way to go. So I put loads of sprouts in my juice. I put sprouts in my salad. Maybe I stay out of the heavy broccoli and cauliflower, you know, and cabbage. I could put things like that in my juice, because that way I can take it. And if I'm just starting, let's say with Crohn's colitis, I would blend the food. I would put my sprouts blended at least the first 2 weeks, and then I would maybe be able to chop it, and then maybe in a few weeks I start eating it like it is. You know that it's an inflammation, and it's an ulcer, and like diverticulitis is pockets, actually made pockets, and bacteria and you know, parasites is a big part of this, that it even happens, and even Crohn's and colitis. And parasites is something we really don't talk enough about. We get it in meat, we get it in fish, we can get it from vegetables if we don't wash well too, fruits too. But very much from meat, and no matter how much I cook that, because parasites also live in the muscle of the meat, and it survives no matter what heat you put it up to. So and water is the biggest carrier of parasites, of amoebas. So we get these things. The good thing is we have white blood cells that kill parasites, and you know, sometimes we just gotta help them, and we take some natural supplement to give a boost to that. And usually when you do a treatment of natural supplementation, you repeat it. You take a few weeks off, finish one, take a few weeks off, and repeat it, and sometimes repeat it a few times. So I know anybody who's traveled to other countries might have got it, but believe me, we get it just as well as home. And you can get it from your water, you can get it from ice, you get it in a restaurant, or you know, you can get it anywhere. It's very easy. So probably work with a therapist or naturopath, work with somebody that can put you through a program. Probiotic, now what happens at King's College in London, they did a study, what happens after 10 days on McDonald's. We have, you know, 100,000 of microbes in our gut, and they are a huge part of our immune system. And they found a third of it is gone. A third of it is gone after 10 days. So, you know, so we're bringing our kids up now, and you know, they want to hang out at McDonald's, Burger King, and places like that. They sooner or later will have some gastrointestinal problem. So it usually starts with some diarrhea, constipation, off and on. It actually, the purging is the diarrhea, when your body is just get rid of something. And diarrhea, so it goes off and on, then maybe I start seeing some blood from an ulcer, and you know, it's just, it takes me for a ride. I mean, I meet so many at the Institute who says, I don't sleep because I'm running back and forth to the bathroom all night. And just to see how this gets better. I'm not running as much, maybe once a night. And you're talking just 2-3 weeks. And so diet is a big part. We use aloe vera juice, and you know, you have great aloe here in Florida. Of course, the best aloe is from California and Arizona. You have those big aloe leaves, and you can make your own juice, or you can buy aloe juice. And flaxseed, I make flaxseed water. I take 1/3 of flaxseed in a big jug, and I fill it with water, let it sit overnight, and I drink that water. And that just helps to coat, because it's mucilus, and it helps to coat my gastrointestinal tract. But I want to be nice now. I don't want to eat sugar. I don't want to drink alcohol. I sure don't want to drink coffee. And I don't want to smoke, because this is a huge part of this. So I want to quit all of that. Now, what can I take that's naturally anti-inflammatory? And you probably heard about curcumin, and we love turmeric. I love garlic, ginger, turmeric, you know, all these spices. Well, turmeric is amazing anti-inflammatory for these problems. So start taking curcumin, start taking that as your anti-inflammatory. White willow as a painkiller. And you start seeing when you give your body a chance. So I'm blending the food at first so that I give it a chance to not have all this roughage. It has fiber, but it's not so rough in that intestines now. And you know, there is a way out of this, and a lot of times we feel totally lost. And you know, there's a way out of that. And you know, get a hot water bottle. Get an old-fashioned hot water bottle, fill it with hot water, get some good castor oil, and rub the castor oil on your belly where you have pain. Put a towel or a wool piece, and you put the hot water bottle on top of that. And just keep that before you go to sleep, and calm your system down too. It's been great for us. And which is great to have at home for any child that got stressed for something in school and they have stomach ache. But you know, normally we had stomach ache because of the foods, the heavy proteins, the heavy fat, the heavy sugars. We were not meant for that, you know. So all that milk, I used to drink half a gallon a day. And you know, but I'm Swedish, so that's what we do. And you know, you have stomach ache, but you don't know where it comes from. And there's a lot of sugar in that milk. And of course, we went through all the cheeses and butter and bread, and you go through meats, of course, it's what you do. If there was any cooked vegetable, that would be put to the side. And now you're like, okay, that chunk is gone. What do I fill it up with now? And a lot of people will tell you that, so now what do I eat? You took all my goodies away. You took everything that I used to like. It's about a commitment. It's about, okay, I'm tired of the problems I had. You know, if I had gastrointestinal problem, or I had psoriasis, or I had eczema, I had arthritis, I had cancer, you know, what's the price then? What is it worth that I change lifestyle? And if I give it a chance, and you gotta give it more than 2 days. You gotta give it long term. Because what we see in the first 3 months, there's a lot of things going on. A lot of changes, a lot of cleansing, rejuvenation, and a lot of emotional work that comes about. Because you can't separate body and mind. So when, for example, my liver is cleaning, I'm gonna have some angry days, because anger is a big part. When my kidneys are cleaning, I'm gonna have some anxiety and fear. I mean, it's just gonna go through me. When my lungs are cleaning, it's gonna be sadness, and I might wake up and I might just be sad. And you know, if I don't understand what's going on and how connected my emotions are with how I feed myself, how I exercise, how I move. You know after exercise how much better you have endorphins, you know, you feel good. And you know, if I just give myself that chance, you're gonna have an amazing life. I have worked with people that have had asthma and COPD since I was 18. I ran a clinic outside Stockholm in Sweden, and it blew my mind. I was on cloud 9 to see people heal themselves, and they stayed many months because we had a clinic. And it was amazing to see how, you know, you come with a bag full of medication, you've been living with that, and you've never heard that lifestyle had something to do with this. So we changed your lifestyle, work with you emotionally, start to walk. We had a 3-story building in Sweden. And the people with asthma, because the single rooms were on the 3rd floor, had to go up there. And we had sitting area on each floor. So that the people, because a lot of people with asthma, you know, if you can't get your breath. So you had to sit. You would walk up the stairs, sit down, take a breath, and then walk up. And I was, many, many nights I had to be up with them, because you could be fine during the day because you have sprays, you have meds, but as soon as your head hits the pillow, hell breaks loose. And so I was up many, many nights and working with people through the nights. So I worked many, many nights. I was up helping people through the night and with therapies and juices. And we love garlic. Garlic is a natural antibiotic, and it actually helps to kill. Asthma is an allergy infection, so it helps to kill infection. And COPD, of course, it has now got emphysema. It's gone further, and you can put cigarette smoking as #1 for COPD, asbestos as #1 for sure, and the combination of them is horrendous. The thing is, how can I help COPD? How can I even stop that vicious circle that's going on? How can I stop the process of that? I believe, and I've seen it so many times, that if I go on a different lifestyle, I start eating the raw, I'm making the juices, I start exercise, of course I have to quit smoking, and I have to detoxify. So asbestos, which is a horrendous chemical that, of course, if mine workers are you know, constantly, but also carpenters are around, and we got to protect ourselves first of all. You know, if I'm working in that kind of work, of course I have to have mask. I have to be very, very protective on myself. But let's say that I'm out of that and I'm quit smoking. I need to change my whole lifestyle. I need to quit the alcohol. I need to quit the coffee. All of these are chemicals coming into my systems, and you know, the more I start eating, it's kind of a trick, because the more I start eating a living food, alkaline, vegan diet, raw food diet, organic, then something that's called alkaloids. My diet now is alkaline. Alkaloids was my alcohol, the coffee, the cigarette. They're actually fake alkalinity, and the more alkaline my body gets from the food, and my food is bringing that in, I can let go of the alkaloids. They're totally fake, but they come in with a chemistry that looks alkaline. And so a lot of people get hooked on chemicals because meat, potatoes, and all the cooked food, the fish, the chicken, the dairy, the eggs, you name it, makes your body much more acidic. And your body is looking for something. That's when the coffee and the cigarette come in, or the beer and the wine. So they all came in, they all walked in. They all walk out now. So, you know, working with a lot of our students have come, and some have been in the beginning of dementia, and some have had dementia into Alzheimer. And you know, we've seen, and you've seen the ages come down. We see 50 years old now with Alzheimer. And you know, this we call diabetes type 3. And this is a huge part of the sugar. And the high fructose corn syrup, the sugars we've got, the malnourishment that we've had. And, you know, we need to keep our brain occupied. Of course, you know, all our life our brain has. We have to learn new things, take classes, do new things, constantly use our brain. Eye exercise is a great thing to start. You can start doing the Dr. Bates eye exercise where you look up and down, look from side to side, go diagonal up and right, and then left and down to the right, and you know, start doing eye exercises, keep your brain going. But learning new things is a big deal. Diet is huge in this. Exercise is fantastic. So, you know, there's a lot of scientific evidence now about how we could have prevented a lot of these things. If I'm now in, and of course omega-3, and not from fish oil. Fish, you know, if you know how fish oil is made, you actually squeeze the oil out of the whole fish. You know it gets rancid in no time, like any oil, really. So if I want omega-3, I want it from sprouts, I want it from the vegetables. Like if I take purslane, it has 8 times more omega-3 than other cultivated plants. So the wild plants have even more omega-3. So I don't have to eat fish. Actually, fish, for men especially, all the research have shown it doubles the risk of aggressive prostate cancer. And especially fish oil. So that's not the source of omega-3. Walnuts is a great source, almonds, and you know, pecans, you name it, it's amazing. So wild plants and sprouts and chia seeds and hemp seeds and flax seeds, great sources. So we should not be lacking omega-3, which is so important for our heart health, for our cardiovascular problem, but especially prostate health and breast health, anything that has to do with hormones in our body, we need good fats, omega-3. And, you know, we make different fats in our body. As we're newborn, we have a lot of brown fat. It keeps us warm, and it's an amazing deal that we can make more brown fat. We usually, you know, it decreases and we start making white fat, which is what we make our hormones from and supports every organ in our body. But we need brown fat because white fat stores fat in our body, which we need for energy, and brown fat burns it. So if I want to work on weight loss, for example, but if I just want to be healthy, I make more brown fat when I'm sleeping well, when I'm exercising, when I'm eating well. So, you know, I want to have a balance of white and brown fat. Now, that's being studied a lot now, and, you know, and brown fat keeps you warm. And funny enough, now, one study showed that, so we have it like the first 10 years, then it totally goes down, but we can make more. And enough for us to have what we need. And then by the time we're 60, somehow there is a movement up again. And then by the time we're 80, it decreases. But guess what? That is, the people that's been studied probably were not moving so much. We're not maybe sleeping as well, but probably not eating as well. What happened as we get older and our kids are out of the house? We don't want to cook. We don't want to prepare food anymore, and we start being lazy, and we just, you know, maybe take a can of soup and heat it, and, you know, or we go out to eat. And, you know, restaurants are great. I think that a restaurant needs to realize their responsibility, because I think to feed somebody, it's an honor, but it is a responsibility to, I want to feed you something that's going to make you good and healthy. So why do I want to feed you McDonald's? Why do I want to feed you some greasy stuff that is not good for anything? And so, you know, and there's a lot. McDonald's is just one. You know, a lot of other restaurants jumped on the bandwagon, and we got hooked on it. But that is really an honor to feed somebody. And as a parent, that's what I want to do. But what happens as we, you know, the kids get out of our house and they have their own lives, we tend to stop taking care. And we need to realize now more than ever, we better keep going. We better keep our brain going and, you know, socialize, take classes, go to vegan potlucks, be part of it. And, you know, maybe you want to go in and educate yourself about things, and you could share it with friends and family. And not to be intimidating, but to share what you learn. Because really, most people, especially the younger ones with the little ones, they are busy in their life. And it is, you know, we all know it. It's just go, go, go. And you try your best, and you pick stuff up, and, you know, you're kind of brainwashed into that there are prepared stuff, that somebody took care, that somebody actually checked that you got enough nourishment from prepared foods. No, you know, that's not happening. And that restaurants are preparing for you. No, it's not happening. I mean, there are raw food restaurants, there are vegan restaurants. We go all over the world to lecture. We did 8 countries this summer. And, you know, we travel all the time. And this is growing everywhere. You're stepping into a movement that is huge. That is a just amazing upcoming thing that is not new. There's nothing new under the sun. You know, we took the name Hippocrates because it's the father of medicine, but this is what would have been used. Sun, good air, you know, walking, exercising, eating well. It's very simple, but, you know, it's easy to be thrown out of it. Let's take a step back.